was the day after Christmas in 2011. I was at the movies with my wife, Sandy, about to watch Mission Impossible 3. I was excited when I received a message from work that a 3-year-old boy in Minneapolis had been shot in the head. My wife saw the shocked, distraught look on my face and grabbed my hand and said, "Go." I left for North Memorial Hospital, where I met the mother and father of the little boy. I introduced myself as Sherman Patterson from Mayor Rybak's office. I asked, how was the little boy doing? And his mother said, "Not well. His heart had raced to such a pace that he may not make it through the night." I gave her a huge hug. While waiting for the little boy to get better, to stabilize, she told me about how he was learning his ABCs, always playing, loving his sisters and brothers. And then she talked about that tragic moment, that at the sound of gunfire, Terrell and the siblings knew to run upstairs to the safe spot in the bathtub. Unfortunately, Terrell did not make it. He wasn't quick enough. Terrell stabilized, and I visited him in his room. All I could see was this little angel, this beautiful little angel lying there resting. The next day, I called Marsha to check on Terrell, and I asked, how was he doing? And she said, "Sherman, we just disconnected the life support. He's gone." I didn't know what to say. All I could think about was that this little boy would never grow up, never go to school. He wouldn't even be a father. Terrell lived 5 blocks away from me. I could get there in a couple of minutes. I live in North Minneapolis, a community that's thriving with small businesses, great people, artists, children. It's just a wonderful place. However, like many other major cities, we have our challenges. We are plagued with a cancer that's metastasizing through my community that's called gun violence. In 2004, I was reading on my front porch, and I heard a loud bang. I looked up, and I saw the ice cream truck stopped in the middle of the road, half a block away. I realized that the ice cream man had just been robbed and shot by a 12-year-old boy. That did it for me. I knew I had to get involved. My block had become the home of one of the most notorious young gangs in Minneapolis. Kids between the ages of 13 and 16 years old. 13 and 16 years old. I immediately went to the gang leader, a 15-year-old boy who lived on my block, and I asked him, "What's going on? How can I help you?" He looked at me with a menacing stare, very apprehensive, non-trusting. But every day I saw him, I would ask him the same question. Eventually, he warmed up to me. He saw that I was avuncular or approachable, genuine, and authentic. We began to share our stories, our life stories. We would sit down on my front steps in the middle of the street, and he would tell me how he felt hopeless, helpless. His fellow gang members, they thought adults had given up on them. The dysfunctionalism in the home, how they depended on each other. And these young boys is out on the streets shooting and killing other people and each other because they couldn't see any farther than where they were. I shared my story with him that I was from a broken home. My dad wasn't there. But I had two matriarchs. My 96-year-old grandmother, who's cognitive now, who holds me responsible and accountable when I call her. And I say, "Hi, girl, how you doing?" She said, "Boy, don't you call me girl." And my 72-year-old mom. But at the same time, I had anchors around me, anchors of men who held me accountable to be responsible. And they put that on their shoulders. And I told this gang leader that I am responsible for you, and I'm going to put you on my shoulders. Often I would pile a group of the gang guys in my vehicle, SUV, and we would go out and eat pizza outside of the gang territory. At times, I knew I was putting myself at risk because a rival gang could come by and shoot up my vehicle, or even one of the kids could have a gun with them. I never asked. As we would ride, I noticed how they would light up, and like the sun's just shining on them, they became kids again. I would just listen and listen and listen about how they wanted to be teachers, poets, professional athletes, talking about graduating from school, just joshing with one another. This made me feel so good. Often on the return to Minneapolis and seeing the skyline, I could feel this dark cloud come over my car. They would morph back into these hardened gang members. You could see the stone faces in the car, the silence, the hopelessness coming back, feeling helpless, feeling boxed in. When I dropped them off, I often prayed and hoped that they would do well. Some are dead now from the years, several years have passed. Some are dead. Some have committed murders. Some are in prison. However, a few years ago, I saw one of those gang members, well, I say ex-gang members, because he was 13 at the time, and he came up to me and he said, "Thank you." He said, "Sherman, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hearing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being there for us, being there for me." Now he's working. He's taking classes in college. He's healthy. He's moving forward. But most of all, he told me that he's trying to help young kids and young men who are in his position, who was in his position. But don't get it twisted. My block is still challenged. I have little kids out playing outside all of the time now. They're happy. They're fulfilled with just joy. And when I come home, in my car, no matter how tired I am, I'm looking in my car, I see them playing outside, and they're waiting for me to come. "Hey, Sherman." "Hey." I get out, and I make sure I take the time, if it's just 2 minutes, to see how they're doing in school, what's going on in the house. And I'm always talking to the parent or guardian, because it's usually not parents. These are my kids on my block. I am responsible. Often people say, why don't you just move? I can. But every time I see that smiling face, I'm anchored. So, as I said, we still have our challenges. Just this past Sunday, I came home, not even 20 feet into my yards. 10 gunshots rang off 4 houses from me. A young man had gotten shot. A young gang member had gotten shot. So we are still challenged with that behavior, drugs, the violence. And as I continue to reach out to these kids, to help them, to show them, and for them to be responsible, I continue to love them. But according to the Center for Disease Control, in 2013, homicides was the leading cause of death for African Americans between the ages of 15 and 34. The vast majority of those were caused by gun violence. Despite being only 14% of the population, African Americans in 2013 represented over 50% of gun violence deaths in America. In Minneapolis, this year, we've had 29 homicides. 22 of those homicides have been committed by gun violence. In a half-mile radius of my block, this year, we've had 2 murders committed by gun violence, over 20 people shot, and most of those are Black young men. I continue to mentor. I continue to reach out on my block, in my neighborhood, in the city. And this has afforded me the opportunity to create a program called Lead by Example Minneapolis. I have taken 10 young boys between the ages of 12 and 15, 6 from the Somali Cedar Riverside community, and 4 from North Minneapolis. 1 who lives across the street from me, and I've been mentoring him since he's 9 years old. Our core focus is leadership, communications, health and nutrition, characters, and values. We meet once a month. We're sharing, we're bonding, we're taking field trips, but most of all, they're valuing themselves. I love my one-on-one sessions with these young boys because I'm always just intensely listening to them. How's your day going? What are you exceeding at? Where are you struggling at? What's troubling you? And they will open up to you. During one of our field trips to City Hall, I was watching 2 of my young boys from LBEM walk down the corridor with their arms around each other. As they came by me, Amani said, he was with Abdul, and he said, "This is my brother. I got him." And in my mind says, "You are my kids. I got you." So, as I continue to build on this momentum and movement and continue to move forward, I've been blessed last year in May with a granddaughter. Gabby. Isn't she beautiful? Yeah. She has my eyes. I look forward to her coming to visit me in Minneapolis, running through the house, up and down the stairs, outside, going Papa. But I often think that a bullet may come through that wall, that a bullet may come through the front yard or the backyard. as it did when my wife Sandy was out this past Sunday. She was coming through the front yard when the shooting started, and I had just gotten home, and luckily, she didn't go. Excuse me. Our kids are reaching out to us. They want us to love them. They want us to want them. They want us to hear them. They want us to need them. I know you care. All I'm asking you is to please choose to listen. Thank you.